Vinu Nayak claims her plan to sell Indian spiced popcorn was dashed when a party guest took her original recipes for his own business. Daniel Sachs says the plaintiff only provided inspiration for his successful food enterprise.
I see I have Ms. Vinu Nayak here as my plaintiff and Daniel Sachs as the defendant. I see, Ms. Nayak, you are suing for $8,530. Why are we in court today?
Your Honor, my name is Ms. Vinu Nayak, and yes, I am suing Danny for $8,530 for stealing my idea of Indian spiced popcorn. I have 3 products in that, and he basically stole all my ideas and created his own company, Spicy Pops, and mine was Indian Pops, and I would like to sue him for 50% of his profits, Your Honor.
That he's made so far in the business. Okay, tell me more, Ms. Nayak. How did you meet this man? What's the relationship here?
Yes, Your Honor. So every year, once a year, I hold my annual Diwali event. Diwali, Your Honor, is similar to like Christmas or Thanksgiving. It's our festival to celebrate our culture and our food. So I really love organizing this event. I do it every year. I do it not only for my Indian friends, but also my non-Indian friends.
Sure.
Of course, my Indian friends love it because, you know, most of us have family back home in India, including myself. My immediate family is there. And so this is an event that I think of, you know, as just bringing everyone together. Also, Diwali is really significant festival, Your Honor. It's all about, you know, the darkness that exists in our lives, that exists in this world. How can we create light? So last year, I met Danny when he came to my gathering with, you know, he was my friend Catherine's date.
Okay.
And he came to this gathering, and of course I welcomed him, you know, and we spent so much time talking about our food. And you know, this is a gathering that I started a few years ago in Richmond, Virginia, and as you know, we don't have a big Indian population. So this gathering was only 5 people, 6 people at first, and now we've, you know, increased to 35 people.
Wow.
And so this amazing celebration, you know, I was just welcoming everyone. And you know, Danny and Catherine actually stayed back after everyone left. And they were there, they were talking to me for hours. And you know, Danny was just asking me all these questions about all the foods that I had prepared. Of course, my Indian, you know, spiced popcorn was one of the, you know, appetizers and delights that everyone loved. And he really kind of just kept interrogating me and asking me all these questions about my products, my ingredients, my recipe, you know, and I think I was really naive in just sharing all that information with him. Yeah, so that is.
So when did you find out, ma'am, that he had started a whole company around what you're telling the court is your Indian recipe and cuisine?
So, Your Honor, actually 1 year after that Diwali event, a friend of mine, Sandy, she reached out to me. She goes to this, you know, farmer's market weekly with her dogs, is their tradition, and she came across this company called Spicy Pops, and it sounded terribly close to Indian Pops. All my friends know how invested I am in this company, and it's my everything. It's
so
my
your company
life.
does exist. Indian Pops does exist as a company.
Well, it
or
does,
as a brand.
It doesn't exist yet, but
you are working on
I'm working on it, and I have a bunch of investors who are interested. I have a business plan. I have sketches of what my products would look like.
And Ms. Nayak, had you informed the defendant here around your emerging business plan? Did he know that Indian Pops was a thing?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Your Honor, she did not.
Okay. I'll be with you in 1 second, sir. Do you have any evidence? I see you've got some papers there. Go ahead and give that to my bailiff, ma'am.
Yes, Your Honor.
So I can take a look.
Thank you.
And see what we are talking about. Okay, so let's put up here on the plasma for everyone to see. This is the art, looks like, for Indian Pops. Okay.
Yes, Your Honor.
So this is a banana, is it?
Banana chana masala,
Chana
Your
masala,
Honor.
okay.
Yes.
So, yes, go ahead.
Oh, yes, thank you for allowing me to share about this dish. But this is a dish that I came up with, and banana and chana is like beans, garbanzo beans, and chickpea
like
beans.
a chickpea,
Chickpea beans.
Sure.
And banana and chana is a combination that you wouldn't normally think of. It's so weird.
Yeah.
But honestly, that's the best part of it. And from my, grandmother, actually, I learned this blend of Indian spices that that perfectly brings out and enhances, the taste. And, earlier Danny just said that he did not know about Indian Pops, but as you can see, this is, one of my sketches with the Indian Pops artwork on it that was emailed to him.
Okay.
Coming up on Equal Justice.
Then you actually sent him some of your work product.
I didn't send it to him taking initiative to do that. He actually texted me asking me specifically for the ingredients.
Equal Justice is back with a dispute between Vinu Nayak and entrepreneur Daniel Sachs over spicy popcorn.
So you went as far as after he was, inquiring about your recipe, the design, the this, the that, then you actually sent him some of your work product.
I didn't send it to him taking initiative to do that. He actually reached out to me after the party. He texted me asking me specifically for the ingredients, and I believe the text messages and our email exchange is also
in
in
my
your evidence
folder?
packet.
Okay. I also see we have the paneer samosa.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
So the second product is paneer samosa pakora.
Okay.
And I personally love this product. It's made out of paneer Indian cheese.
Okay.
Yes, it's incredibly tasty. And then my third product is the chicken paprika tikka.
Yeah.
And that one everybody loves because, it's really, really rich.
Right.
It's basically a blend of like chicken pieces, together with this rich Indian spices and Indian whipping cream.
These are flavors ultimately for popcorn.
Right.
Okay. Very. I mean, listen, I have had the incredible privilege to travel to Mumbai and spend some time in Ahmedabad, so I'm a big, huge fan of Indian culture and cuisine. So this looks pretty interesting to me. I see here your ingredient list, and you have proffered all of this. So this is, you're saying per his request, you sent all of this to him.
Yes, Your Honor.
The images, the ingredients, everything. Okay, so let's get to this text here.
Yes, Your Honor.
He's saying, Vinu, it was so great to meet you. I'm thinking about making an Indian pizza.
Yes, Your Honor.
Can you please send me the ingredients and recipes for your snacks? I did really enjoy your Diwali dinner, and I'd love some inspiration. He says inspiration. That's an important word. Very specifically, he's asking you for your recipes and all the things for your snacks and the ingredient list. He sends his email. You say happy to do it. I see here you sent it. I see the attachments of the recipes and the sketches. And then you didn't hear from him again until you tell me one of your friends who frequents this farmer's market rolls up and sees this lineup of Indian spicy pop snacks that look eerily similar to what she clearly knows to be your design and your creation. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor. And actually, after I sent the emails, I started getting really...
Sir, you will have your day.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I started getting really anxious because I had just met Danny that night. So I actually followed it up with a text message, making sure that he doesn't share my list and ingredients, with anyone else, and that nobody steals this idea, which he, like in text.
Well, I'm seeing it right now. Yeah, you say, hey, Daniel, and I do see, let's look at the timeline here. It's actually the same day. This is within the hour. You do say, so I see your point. You probably had kind of your second mind, as they say, kicks in. Hey, Daniel, please don't share my ingredients and recipes with anyone. I'm really passionate and I'm moving forward with creating Indian Pops, and I don't want anyone to steal my idea. Cool. You say, of course, Vinu, I would never do that. I'm just going to incorporate some of your ingredients into a pizza and see how it goes. Sounds good. Thanks. Okay. And then I see two more pieces here, but you tell me, how does this cease and desist occur, and how do you end up having this last exchange via text?
Yes, Your Honor. So when I received the news from Sandy that there was a company called Spicy Pop selling my products, I immediately actually reached out to Danny because there couldn't have been anybody.
So this is this text message exchange
Exactly.
here, where you say, Daniel, I saw your Spicy Pops popcorn at my friend's place. Okay, so your girlfriend was the ops, and she bought some.
Yes.
So she could see what's going on.
Yes,
Good
Your
for
Honor.
her. Okay, she said you were selling them at the farmer's market. How's it going? Okay. Vinu, wow, thanks for reaching out. I sold all of the first batch and I made in 3 months. You say, really? How much did you make? He says $17,000 so far, and I'm going to make more soon. So this was you kind of baiting him to see how much financially he had incurred?
No, Your Honor, I was just trying to be direct and understand what is going on. Why are my products,
Well,
on
now I see
his-
you're being direct. Yeah, you say that was my idea. You knew that I was planning on using my recipes for my own Indian popcorn company. You owe me 50% of your profit, and if you don't pay me, I'll sue you.
Yes.
And then no response. Okay, let me get to you, sir, because this has been quite a bit of information. What do you have to say for yourself? Because this does not look favorable to you.
Thank you, Your Honor. So this is not a linear sequence of events.
Okay.
I'd like to provide context on
Please
how
do.
this all happened. So we met at last Diwali's party. My ex, she took me there, and so she invited us over. We had a wonderful time. Vinu, she created this amazing spread of appetizers, entrees, and snacks.
Sounds like
and it was
any
my
good
first time.
Indian event to me. Yeah.
And it was amazing. That was my first time having Indian food.
Oh, wow.
And in Richmond, we don't get too much diverse and foods, cuisines. So
Or flavor.
I was in flavor. So I was just thrilled. So I sat down and I started talking with her, and I was like, "How do you do this? How do you put this together?" And I told her about my business. So
Well, no, I don't know anything about this. What was your business?
So I'm an entrepreneur at heart.
Coming up on Equal Justice.
You got the recipe.
We got the recipe.
Tell me how we get from recipes intended for pizza usage to this popcorn sitting in my courtroom today.
This is Equal Justice. Equal Justice is back with a dispute between Vinu Nayak and entrepreneur Daniel Sachs over spicy popcorn.
And I have started 23 different companies, of which some of them have succeeded and some of them I let go.
So you're a serial entrepreneur. I got it. Now, what is
Entrepreneur.
this current company that you're talking about?
So this current company is a pizza delivery shop.
Okay.
So I opened it up during the pandemic. It was very successful. What we do is we make gourmet pizza. We use organic ingredients. We source it from local farmers. It works. And as I was telling Vinu, I'd like to test the waters and expand my pizza company and see if I can do some sort of Indian pizza dish, maybe a tikka masala. And
Hold on
she
one
was
second,
super
sir.
excited about it.
Hold on one second, sir. Does this track, is this consistent with what you recall him telling you that night about a pizza business? And
Yes.
that was the premise in which he was inquiring about your recipes and flavor profiles.
Yes, Your Honor, and I was under the impression that he wanted to create an Indian pizza.
Well, that's what he just said. You got the recipe.
We got the recipe.
Tell me how we get from recipes intended for pizza usage to this popcorn sitting in my courtroom today.
So the pizza flopped. No one liked it, and I bought a ton of spices. And I needed to do something with it, and as a good business person, you don't want to throw away your revenue. So
Let me guess, Mr. Sachs. Oh, what to do. Oh, what to do. I have overinvested in an untested product, and now I'm going to simply copy and paste an entire creative business plan from a woman of actual Indian descent and cultural competency to make up for my financial loss. Is that what you're about to tell the court?
Coming up on Equal Justice.
What's your response to this, sir?
So intellectual property, she doesn't have any intellectual property.
I'll be the determination of that, sir. Go ahead.
This is Equal Justice. Equal Justice is back with a dispute between Vinu Nayak and entrepreneur Daniel Sachs over spicy popcorn.
Okay, and your intention is to do what? Produce more, sell more, and make more profit?
That is what I intended to do, yes, until I got a cease and desist.
Well, let's get to
From
that.
her.
Cease and desist letter. I'm seeing it right here. This is from the plaintiff to the defendant. This is directly from you, so I see you have not retained legal counsel yet. This is you attempting to do it independently.
Yes, Your Honor.
You have said that this is the unauthorized disclosure of intellectual property. We have reason to believe that you are in direct violation of revealing information that is deemed intellectual property of Vinu Nayak. Infringement includes stealing and sharing her Indian Pops recipes and breaching the agreement you made with her. You're talking about the oral agreement where he said he would not share with others?
The text messages.
Correct.
Your
Okay.
Honor.
It is required that you do the following: that you stop selling the Spicy Pops popcorn at the farmer's market, that you sign no agreements to sell Spicy Pops online or anywhere else, and remove the advertising. What's your response to this, sir?
So, intellectual property, she doesn't have any intellectual property.
I'll be the determination of that, sir. Go ahead.
I went online and I took a combination of different recipes from websites, Indian websites, to create my own mix. On top of it, I've done my own market research and I tested out tons of different products. And finally, like I said, the best thing to complement all this is something light and fluffy like popcorn. So I have a trademark Spicy Pop. It's in my name and it's protected.
Let me see it, sir. Offer it to the
so
court.
this
Give it
is-
to my bailiff.
Here's some of the evidence that I have, but it doesn't have the trademark listed.
Probably what you have, if what you mean, and please be clear, you have a trademark application submitted. Is that what you have submitted?
Yes.
Okay. You know that's not a trademark, right? Okay.
Judge Eboni's verdict when equal justice returns. This is Equal Justice.
I truly believe that when we're talking about something so delicious and special as this type of cultural ethnic cuisine, it is best produced and distributed by someone with the cultural competency of the origin of the product. There are always going to be those that really are, let's call them what they are, they're fans, right? That also stand to make a living. Okay, so if we don't do our job and we protect our entity in a way, then this type of thing happens. At the same time, sir, you're not fooling anybody with this game you're running in here, sir. There is nothing original about this. This is clearly a copy and paste of this woman's hard-earned effort. Her failure to protect it is something she has to figure out. What won't happen today, though, is you take full and complete advantage to your own enrichment. You will only get to keep half of these particular profits because she has contributed, but sir, so have you. I rule in favor of the plaintiff for half of her demand of $8,530. That's my ruling.
Judge Eboni has ruled in favor of the plaintiff. The defendant is ordered to pay $4,265.
The atmosphere inside the courtroom was heavy with the scent of tradition meeting the cold reality of modern commerce. Behind the elevated mahogany bench sat Judge Eboni K. Williams, a woman whose presence commanded respect and radiated a unique blend of Southern warmth and New York precision. She looked down at the nameplate before her, a simple piece of plastic that carried the weight of her authority. For her, this courtroom was more than just a place for legal disputes. It was a sanctuary where the values of freedom and integrity were meticulously weighed. She often told those who entered that the only thing that mattered in this particular room was how she saw the world, a perspective shaped by the soil of North Carolina, the spirit of Louisiana, the coolness of the West Coast, and the sharp edge of a New York education. She was a voice for the voiceless, a guardian of equal justice for everyone, regardless of whether they were black or white, gay or straight. On this day, the scale of justice was set to balance a dispute over something as seemingly simple, yet deeply personal, as a bowl of spiced popcorn. The plaintiff, Miss Renu Nyaf, stood at her podium with a posture that spoke of both nervous energy and deep-seated conviction. Opposite her was Mr. Daniel Sachs, a man who carried the polished air of a serial entrepreneur, someone who saw the world as a series of opportunities waiting to be seized. The case was centered on a claim of intellectual theft. Miss Nyaf alleged that her dreams of sharing Indian culture through gourmet popcorn had been snatched away by a man she once welcomed as a guest. She was suing for $8,530, a figure representing half of the profits Daniel had made from a business venture she claimed was built entirely on her stolen recipes. Judge Eboni leaned forward, her eyes scanning the room. She began the proceedings by addressing Miss Nyaf, asking her to explain why they were gathered in court. With a voice that wavered slightly but grew stronger as she spoke of her heritage, Renu began her tale. She explained that she was the creator of Indian Pops, a brand she had been carefully nurturing. She accused Danny of stealing her concepts to create his own company, which he had named Spicy Pops. She was not just asking for a return of investment, she wanted 50% of the profits he had generated so far. The story truly began at a Diwali event, the festival of lights that Renu organized every year in Richmond, Virginia. To Renu, Diwali was much more than a party. It was a celebration of culture, food, and the triumph of light over darkness. It was a time to bring together her Indian friends who missed their families back home and her non-Indian friends who were eager to experience the warmth of her traditions. Richmond did not have a large Indian population, so these gatherings started small, with only 5 or 6 people. But through Renu's passion, the event had grown to 35 attendees. It was at the most recent celebration that she met Daniel. He had arrived as the date of her friend Catherine. Renu, true to her nature, had welcomed him with open arms and a full plate. After the other guests had departed, Daniel and Catherine stayed behind, lingering for hours. Daniel seemed fascinated. He peppered Renu with questions about the appetizers she had prepared, specifically her Indian spiced popcorn. Renu admitted to the court that she might have been naive, blinded by the joy of the festival and the apparent interest of a new friend. She shared the details of her products, her ingredients, and the stories behind her recipes. A year passed before the betrayal came to light. A friend named Sandy, while visiting a local farmer's market with her dogs, stumbled upon a booth selling a product called Spicy Pops. The branding and the flavors were eerily similar to the Indian Pops concept that Renu had been talking about for years. Renu explained to the judge that while Indian Pops was not yet a fully launched corporation, it was a living project. She had business plans, sketches of the artwork, and interested investors. She had shared all of this with Daniel, believing he was a fellow food lover looking for inspiration. To prove her point, Renu presented evidence to the court. The images appeared on the large plasma screen for everyone to see. There was the artwork for a unique flavor called banana chana masala. Renu described it with the passion of a chef, explaining that chana represented chickpeas or garbanzo beans. The combination of banana and savory Indian spices was unusual, a secret she had learned from her grandmother to enhance the natural flavors of the ingredients. It was a weird but wonderful blend that Daniel had specifically inquired about. The evidence folder also contained text messages and emails that painted a clear picture of their interaction after the party. Daniel had reached out to Renu, claiming he was inspired to create an Indian-style pizza. He asked for her recipes and ingredient lists, framed under the guise of friendly inspiration. Renu, wanting to be helpful, had sent him everything: the sketches, the specific spice blends, and the conceptual designs. Shortly after sending the information, a sense of anxiety had gripped her. She sent a follow-up text, asking him specifically not to share her secrets or steal her ideas, as she was moving forward with her own company. Daniel had replied with an assurance that seemed ironclad at the time, stating he would never do such a thing and was only experimenting with pizza. However, the truth revealed at the farmer's market told a different story. When Renu finally confronted Daniel via text, she discovered he had made $17,000 in just 3 months selling the very popcorn flavors she had created. When she demanded 50% of the profits, he went silent. When it was finally Daniel's turn to speak, he did not deny the sequence of events, but tried to frame them in a different light. He presented himself as a serial entrepreneur who had started 23 different companies. He explained that he ran a gourmet pizza delivery shop that had been successful during the pandemic by sourcing ingredients from local farmers. He claimed the pizza business eventually flopped, leaving him with a massive surplus of expensive Indian spices he had purchased for his failed experiments. As a businessman who refused to let revenue go to waste, he decided to pivot. Judge Eboni was not easily swayed by his entrepreneurial jargon. She pointed out the convenience of his story. He had the recipes, he had the spices, and suddenly he had a popcorn business that looked exactly like the one Renu had designed. She questioned how he could justify moving from a pizza concept to a popcorn product that used the exact flavor profiles Renu had shared in confidence. Daniel argued that Renu had no formal intellectual property and that he had simply done his own market research, combining recipes he found online to create his own mix. He even claimed he had a trademark for spicy pops, though the judge quickly clarified that he only had a pending application, which was far from a legal trademark. In her final deliberation, Judge Eboni spoke about the beauty of cultural cuisine. She believed that such special and delicious traditions were best represented by those with the cultural competency of the origin. She acknowledged that there would always be fans who sought to make a living from other cultures, but there was a line between inspiration and exploitation. She looked at Daniel and told him plainly that he wasn't fooling anyone. His business was a clear copy and paste of Renu's hard work. While Renu had failed to legally protect her ideas with patents or trademarks before sharing them, the judge refused to let Daniel take full advantage of her creativity for his own enrichment. The court recognized that while Daniel had provided the labor and the sales platform, the soul of the product belonged to Renu. Therefore, Judge Eboni ruled in favor of the plaintiff. She ordered Daniel to pay Renu $4,265, exactly half of her demand. As the session ended, the tension between the two remained. Renu called Daniel a thief, a man who might be good at business, but lacked a moral compass. Daniel, unrepentant, claimed he was simply an opportunistic person who had been inspired. They left the courtroom as they had entered, two people with very different views on what it meant to create and what it meant to own. But as the lights in the courtroom dimmed, the lesson remained clear. True integrity is found not in what you can take from others, but in what you build with your own heart and heritage. This had been a production of Allen Media Group, a story of justice served in the pursuit of protecting one's light from the darkness of greed. The mahogany nameplate sat prominently atop the judicial bench, its gold lettering catching the soft light of the courtroom. It read Judge Eboni K. Williams. To anyone else, it was merely a sign of office, but to the woman presiding over the room, it was a reminder of a profound responsibility. She looked out at the gallery and the parties before her with a gaze that was both sharp and seasoned. She often told those who entered her sanctuary of law that the only thing that truly mattered in this particular courtroom was how she perceived the truth. Her perspective was a unique tapestry woven from her North Carolina roots and her Louisiana heritage, seasoned with a touch of West Coast cool and sharpened by a distinct New York edge. She was a woman who commanded respect not through volume, but through a presence that demanded integrity. When a woman in the front row shifted uncomfortably, the judge paused, her eyes locking onto the individual with calm intensity. She asked if there was a problem. The woman quickly shook her head, offering a respectful denial. For Judge Williams, equal justice was not just a legal concept, but a pillar of the most important values of the country. It was about freedom and integrity, the very thing she strove for every time she donned her black robes. She believed in the sanctity of one's own space and the right to lead one's life. She had once told a litigant that while a person might run their own household, another man had the right to run his. This philosophy of mutual respect underpinned her entire career. She had decided to become an attorney and pursue the law because she possessed a burning desire to be a voice for the voiceless. In her eyes, the court served as a platform where people from all sectors of life, whether they were black, white, purple, gay, straight, or queer, could find a fair hearing. That was the essence of equal justice under her watch. On this particular morning, the case on the docket involved a clash of cultures, recipes, and broken trust. Renu Nayak, the plaintiff, stood at her podium with a look of determined grace. Across from her was Daniel Sachs, a man whose confident posture suggested he was well acquainted with the world of business. The dispute centered on a plan to sell Indian spiced popcorn, a project Renu claimed was ruined when a guest at her party took her original recipes to start his own enterprise. Daniel, on the other hand, maintained that the plaintiff had provided nothing more than a spark of inspiration for what had become a successful food venture. Judge Williams looked at the papers before her, noting that Ms. Nayak was suing for the specific sum of $8,530. She looked up and asked the simple yet loaded question of why they were in court today. Renu Nayak took a deep breath. She introduced herself and confirmed that she was indeed suing Danny for that amount because she believed he had stolen her idea. She explained that she had 3 specific products and that he had essentially taken all her concepts to create his own company, which he called Spicy Pops. Her own vision had been titled Indian Pops. She was seeking 50% of the profits he had generated thus far. The judge leaned back, asking for more context. She wanted to know how these 2 individuals had met and what the nature of their relationship was. Renu began to describe her annual Diwali event. She explained that Diwali was a festival similar to Christmas or Thanksgiving in its importance, a time to celebrate culture and food. It was an event she organized every year with great love, inviting both her Indian and non-Indian friends. For her Indian friends, many of whom had family far away in India like her own immediate family, it was a way to bring a piece of home to Richmond, Virginia. She spoke of the significance of the festival, describing it as a celebration of how light can be created amidst the darkness that exists in the world. It was at the most recent gathering that she met Daniel. He had arrived as the date of her friend Catherine. Renu, being a natural hostess, had welcomed him warmly. As the evening progressed, they spent a significant amount of time discussing the food. Renu noted that when she first started these gatherings in Richmond, there was not a large Indian population, and the events consisted of only 5 or 6 people. Over the years, the celebration had grown to 35 attendees. After most of the guests had departed, Daniel and Catherine stayed behind, engaging Renu in conversation for hours. Daniel had been inquisitive, asking a multitude of questions about the dishes she had prepared. One of the highlights of the night had been her Indian spiced popcorn, an appetizer that everyone seemed to adore. Renu admitted to the court that she might have been naive. In the spirit of the celebration, she had answered his questions, sharing details about her products, her ingredients, and the nuances of her recipes. It was only a year later that she discovered the consequences of her openness. A friend named Sandy, who had a tradition of visiting the local farmers market with her dogs, had come across a company called Spicy Pops. The name felt uncomfortably close to Indian Pops, a project Renu's friends knew she was deeply invested in. Judge Williams asked if Indian Pops existed as a formal company. Renu clarified that while it was not yet fully launched, she was working tirelessly on it. She had a business plan, sketches of the packaging, and interest from several investors. She insisted that she had informed Daniel of her emerging business plan and that he was fully aware that Indian Pops was intended to be a real entity. Daniel attempted to interject, denying this, but the judge silenced him, promising him his turn momentarily. Renu provided evidence to the court, which the bailiff handed to the judge. Among the documents were sketches of the artwork for Indian Pops. One particular dish mentioned was banana chana masala. Renu explained that while the combination of banana and garbanzo beans might seem unusual to some, it was a blend she had learned from her grandmother. The spices were designed to perfectly enhance the taste. She pointed out that despite Daniel's claims of ignorance, she had actually emailed him her sketches and work product. The judge examined a text message exchange. Daniel had reached out after the party, telling Renu how great it was to meet her. He mentioned he was thinking about making an Indian pizza and asked for her ingredients and recipes for her snacks as inspiration. Renu, wanting to be helpful, had sent the information, including the attachments and sketches. However, a sense of anxiety had struck her shortly after. Within the hour, she had sent a follow-up message, asking him not to share her recipes with anyone else because she was moving forward with Indian Pops and did not want her idea stolen. Daniel had replied, promising he would never do such a thing and that he was only going to incorporate some ingredients into a pizza. The situation changed when Renu heard about the farmers' market success. She reached out to Daniel again, asking how his sales were going after her friend purchased some of his popcorn. Daniel, seemingly unaware of the trap, boasted that he had sold out his first batch and had made $17,000 in 3 months. It was then that Renu became direct, accusing him of using her ideas and demanding half the profits. Daniel had not responded to that final text. When it was finally Daniel's turn to speak, he argued that the sequence of events was not as linear as Renu described. He confirmed they met at the Diwali party and praised the food, noting that it was his first time experiencing Indian cuisine in a city like Richmond, which lacked diversity in its food scene. He described himself as a serial entrepreneur who had started 23 different companies. His current venture was a gourmet pizza delivery shop that focused on organic, local ingredients. He claimed the pizza idea had flopped and he was left with an excess of spices. To avoid losing revenue, he decided to pivot to popcorn. The judge was skeptical. She suggested that he had simply copied a creative business plan from a woman of actual Indian descent to cover his own financial losses. Daniel countered by claiming that Renu had no intellectual property. He told the court that he had gone online to combine different recipes from various websites to create his own mix and that he had conducted his own market research. He even claimed to have a trademark for spicy pops, though the judge quickly pointed out that he only had a trademark application, which was not the same thing. In her final analysis, Judge Williams spoke about the importance of cultural competency. She believed that ethnic cuisine was best produced and distributed by those who understood its origin. She looked at Daniel and told him he was not fooling anyone with his game. To her, it was a clear case of a copy and paste of Renu's hard work. While Renu had failed to legally protect her entity early on, the judge would not allow Daniel to take full advantage of her efforts for his own enrichment. The judge issued her verdict. She ruled in favor of the plaintiff, but only for half of the demanded amount, totaling $4,265. She acknowledged that while Daniel had contributed the labor of selling the product, the heart of the business belonged to Renu. As the session ended, Renu called Daniel a thief, telling him he would never truly succeed with such methods. Daniel, unrepentant, argued that he was simply an opportunistic businessman who had been inspired. Judge Williams watched them leave. Another day of seeking balance in the scales of justice concluded.